Hey guys, it's me. I'm doing this video today in response to a conversation that Dolly and the Black Dog and I started a couple weeks ago. She had asked me how I felt about raising kids in the witchcraft tradition, if I would raise them as such or expose them to it, or how I would handle that. Let me preface this video by saying I do not have children, unless you count like the zoo that I have here at my house of the dogs and the parrot and, you know, the crow I took in because it couldn't fly yet. I didn't want it to get killed. But I don't have kids, so my advice may or may not be valid to you, and it may or may not change myself when I do have kids, if ever. Speaking of one of the zoo animals, there comes the cat. I've thought a lot about it, and I was raised Christian. I went back and forth between a Catholic and a Wesleyan church growing up. My dad's whole side of the family was very Catholic, and my mom was Wesleyan. So, you know, I experienced a lot of Christianity growing up, and it never sat right with me, which is why I decided to branch out on my own. I don't think it's harmful to raise kids in whatever tradition you are in, as long as you are sure of what you believe and confident as, you know, being their spiritual teacher, because that's essentially what you would be. So if you want to raise them in like a witchcraft Wicca tradition, totally fine, you know, go for it. Most parents do raise their kids in some type of tradition. You know, I was a little different. I wasn't like made to go to church. It was there if I wanted to, and I would go with whatever family member was going. It wasn't forced. It wasn't like shoved down my throat. I got my first book on Kabbalah, I think I was 12, and I started reading because, like I said, Christianity never sat right to me, and it's not something that was ever going to change. Having said that, whatever path you do educate your child in or raise them in, understand too that they may branch out, and if you're a witch, they may go fundamentalist Christian when they get older. And you have to be accepting of that. Wait till they go by. Anyway, sorry. It was too nice to do this video inside, so you get to see my unfinished door of my house behind me. I'll get to it eventually, right? What was I even saying? Oh, yeah, you have to be accepting of the fact that you may be a witch or whatever path, and they may choose something totally different like fundamentalist Christianity and then think that you are what that particular religion teaches. So having that consciousness going into it, I think it's important to also educate them on every single path. Unbiased education. Good points and bad. Like, I'm very biased about certain aspects of Christianity, which I find to be very negative. I think there's a lot of indoctrination in religions. To put that on kids at such a young age, I think is damaging to their psyche, their spirit, and their sense of self. Because of that, that's something that I really have to work on before I ever do have children, because I can't give an unbiased view of something that I'm so against. So, I guess I would say be sure of yourself and of what you believe, first and foremost, if you choose to raise them in that tradition or not. The second part of that is raise them with an education of all other religions. Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, the Jewish faith, Sikhism, you know, Egyptian religions, old and current. I think it's important to have a well-rounded basis to draw from of where religion really comes from and why you believe what you believe, and to do that in an unbiased way. Doing that, I think it's also very important to talk about the political and socioeconomical aspects of what religion does or can do, depending on how it's used and who's using it with your child. It's important that they understand that it's as good or bad as what we put it into practice as. Organized religion in itself is not bad. I used to really believe that it was for a long time. Anything organized religion steered clear of. The reality is that it's not. It is what we make it. It is how we use it, as is all things. So I think it's important to educate them too on the wars that have gone on, the wars that's going on in the Middle East, the Crusades, the times of the witch burning, to show what intolerance and ignorance and people being so set in their belief or relying so much on what a book says, instead of what their soul says of how to treat a human being, what it does. So I guess I think it's fine to raise a child in any faith that you so choose to raise them in, as long as you're giving them a well-rounded aspect, culturally and otherwise, of every other religion out there, and you're okay with whatever choice they make. If they choose to be atheists, if they choose, they just don't feel a connection with anything, or like I said, the fundamentalist thing, you have to be able to be okay with that too. So I would expose them to witchcraft, I guess. I would also expose them to absolutely everything else. And then I would let them choose for themselves what they think is right and true and what they don't. Same thing that I was allowed to do. And I think it's wrong to deprive any human being of that right. So yeah. I think raising them in a tradition is fine, but the education and well-roundedness of it all really needs to be there. I think if everyone approached it that way, we'd probably have a better world. We'd certainly have a lot more tolerance and understanding and love. And at the end of the day, it's all about love. And that's really the path that we should all choose. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully I answered your question, Kylie. If you want to do a video response back, that would be great, and let me know what you think. Alright, blessed be, guys. Mwah.